My beloved, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was not meant to pass by you unnoticed. There is something waiting beneath the surface of a person's silence, something they have tried to understand without speaking aloud, and heaven has allowed this message to reach you now because the uncertainty growing inside their heart is not what you think it is. Do not rush away. Do not assume this is another ordinary message. There is a truth unfolding around your connection, and one hidden detail has been affecting this person more deeply than they have ever admitted. They truly love you. Their feelings are not shallow, temporary, or imagined. Yet there is one thing about you that still leaves them standing at the edge of a decision, wondering whether they are strong enough to step forward. You may have noticed the change without knowing what caused it. One moment, they seem close to you, emotionally present, almost ready to reveal everything. Then suddenly, they become distant, careful, or strangely quiet. Their energy shifts. Their words become measured. Their warmth remains, but it hides behind hesitation. You may have asked yourself whether their feelings have weakened. You may have wondered whether someone else has taken your place, whether they have lost interest, or whether the connection only existed in your own heart. But I tell you now, their silence is not the absence of love. It is the presence of a question they have not yet learned how to ask. This person has seen something rare in you. They have seen strength that does not announce itself. They have noticed the way you continue moving even when your heart is tired. They have sensed that you carry stories you do not tell everyone, wounds you do not display, and dreams you protect with quiet determination. They admire this more than you realize. There are moments when they think about you and feel almost overwhelmed by the depth of what you awaken in them. You do not simply attract them. You challenge something inside them. You make them imagine a future they once believed they were not ready to build. But there is another feeling beneath their admiration. It is not rejection. It is not dislike. It is uncertainty, born from the fear that they may never fully know what is happening inside your heart. You have become skilled at protecting your deepest emotions. Perhaps life taught you not to reveal too much too quickly. Perhaps you once trusted someone who treated your vulnerability carelessly. Perhaps you learned that people sometimes ask what you feel, not because they intend to understand you, but because they want access to the parts of you they can later use against you. So you became strong. You learned how to smile while carrying questions. You learned how to say, "I am fine," when your spirit was asking to be held. You learned how to love without always showing the full weight of that love. And this is the thing that makes them uncertain. They cannot always read you. They feel the connection. They notice the signs. They sense the invisible thread that continues to pull them toward you. But when they look for certainty in your actions, they sometimes find mystery instead. When they hope you will openly show that they matter, you may become quiet. When they move closer, you may instinctively protect yourself. When they search your face for reassurance, they may see a calm expression that hides an entire storm. They do not know whether your silence means depth or distance. This question has followed them into places where you were not physically present. It has entered their thoughts late at night. It has appeared while they were doing something ordinary, when suddenly a memory of you interrupted everything. They replay conversations. They examine the words you chose. They remember the moments when you looked as though you wanted to say more, yet stopped yourself. They wonder whether they imagined the tenderness between you or whether you felt it too. There was a recent moment that affected them more than you know. It may have appeared small from the outside. Perhaps it was a brief conversation, a delayed response, a change in your tone, or a moment when you pulled your energy inward. You continued with your day, believing nothing extraordinary had happened. But this person carried that moment with them. They returned to it again and again, asking why you seemed close one moment and unreachable the next. They did not become uncertain because you lack beauty, worth, or goodness. Their uncertainty comes from the fact that your heart is difficult to access when you are afraid. You may not even realize when you do this. Your protection has become so natural that sometimes even love cannot immediately recognize the doorway. Heaven is not revealing this to blame you. You did what you needed to survive certain chapters. You became careful because carelessness once cost you peace. You became observant because you learned that words are not always trustworthy. You became independent because there were moments when the people who should have supported you did not know how. Your strength is sacred. Your boundaries are necessary. But even sacred walls need a gate, because the right person cannot enter if every entrance remains hidden. This person has been standing near that gate. They have not walked away because their feelings are deeper than their fear. They keep returning emotionally, even after telling themselves they should create distance. They have tried to be logical. They have attempted to convince themselves that perhaps the timing is wrong, perhaps you are not interested, or perhaps the connection is too complicated. Yet each time they try to detach, something brings their attention back to you. A song reminds them of your energy. A phrase sounds like something you would say. A stranger carries a small mannerism that resembles yours, and suddenly their heart becomes restless. They may not call it a sign. They may not understand the spiritual language of these moments. But they feel that your presence has become woven into their ordinary life. What unsettles them most is not the possibility that you do not care. It is the possibility that you care deeply but may never allow them close enough to know it. There are things they want to ask you. Questions they have rehearsed privately. They want to know whether you think about them when the world becomes quiet. They want to know whether your distance is self-protection or disinterest. They want to know if the future they sometimes imagine has ever appeared in your mind. They want to ask whether they have misunderstood your heart. But they are afraid that asking too directly could change everything. This person senses that you do not respond well to pressure. They know that if they push too hard, you may retreat further. They have noticed that you open gradually, in layers, when trust feels safe. So they wait. They study the small signs. They pay attention to what you do not say. And sometimes, in their waiting, uncertainty grows larger than truth. Their mind has begun creating stories where clarity is missing. One part of them says, "Be patient. This connection is real." Another part says, "What if you are holding on to something they do not feel?" They move between hope and doubt. They remember your warmth, then question your distance. They remember the way your eyes changed during a certain moment, then wonder why your words did not match what they believed they saw. The extraordinary truth is that they have spoken about you, though perhaps not in the way you would expect. They did not reveal everything. They protected the connection. But someone close to them noticed that their energy changed whenever your name was mentioned. This person tried to act unaffected, but the truth appeared in their expression. A trusted friend or family member asked a simple question, and for a moment, they did not know how to answer. They were asked, "Do you really care about this person?" The answer came more quickly than they intended. Yes. There was no hesitation in the feeling. Only in what came after. They admitted that something about you leaves them unsure. The person listening may have assumed they meant your appearance, your past, your lifestyle, or some difference between you. But that was not it. This person struggled to explain because the real issue was more vulnerable. They said, in their own way, "I know there is something between us, but I do not always know whether they will let me love them." Those words carried more emotion than they expected. Saying them aloud forced them to confront what they had been avoiding. Their fear was not that you were unlovable. Their fear was that you might have become so accustomed to protecting yourself that receiving love now feels more dangerous than being alone. This revelation stayed with them. They began remembering moments when you changed the subject after something became emotional. Times when you offered support to them but resisted receiving support yourself. Moments when you showed care through actions, yet avoided naming what those actions meant. They realized that your love language may be hidden inside details most people overlook. You remember what someone says long after they have forgotten speaking it. You notice changes in their mood. You silently hope for their healing. You may check on people without making your concern dramatic. You may give deeply while pretending it is nothing. This person has seen these qualities. They know your heart is not cold. But they also know that your tenderness often hides behind self-control. And there is another layer. They are not only uncertain about whether you will open your heart. They are uncertain about whether they are worthy of what they would find there. You have made them look at themselves differently. Your presence has illuminated places inside them they once ignored. They have begun noticing their own emotional habits, fears, and unfinished healing. Loving you has not simply created desire. It has created self-examination. They wonder whether they can offer the consistency you deserve. They wonder whether their own past mistakes will eventually disappoint you. They wonder whether you see through them more clearly than they are comfortable admitting. Sometimes they interpret your silence as judgment, even when you are not judging them at all. They are afraid that your strength means you will quickly recognize every weakness they carry. They see the way you observe, the way you notice details, the way you can feel when something is not being said. This makes them admire you, but it also makes them feel exposed. Around others, they may know how to maintain control. Around you, their carefully constructed emotional armor does not work in the same way. You make them feel seen. And being truly seen can be frightening to someone who has spent years presenting only the parts of themselves they believed others would accept. They wonder whether you could still love them after hearing everything. They wonder whether your uncertainty mirrors their own. They wonder whether both of you are waiting for the other to create safety first. This is where the connection has become suspended. Two hearts may feel something real, yet both may be protecting themselves from the same possibility. You wait for proof before you open. They wait for openness before they offer proof. You observe their hesitation and become more guarded. They observe your guardedness and become more uncertain. The feeling remains, but the path becomes clouded. Heaven has allowed this message to reach you because this cycle is approaching a turning point. Something has recently shifted in this person. The uncertainty has not disappeared, but it is no longer enough to keep them completely silent. They have reached a place where losing the opportunity to know the truth feels more painful than risking an honest conversation. Their heart is becoming tired of unanswered questions. They no longer want to live only through signs, assumptions, and imagined possibilities. A decision has begun forming within them. They are considering showing you something they have kept hidden. It may not arrive as a dramatic confession. This person may still move carefully. But the next step they take will carry more meaning than its surface suggests. They may initiate a conversation, ask a question that seems casual, or create a reason to be near you. Listen beneath the words. Their true question may be hidden inside something simple. They may ask how you have been, but what they mean is, do I still matter to you? They may mention a shared memory, but what they mean is, did that moment affect you too? They may speak about the future in general terms, but what they are truly trying to discover is whether you can imagine them in yours. This person is not looking for perfection from you. They are not asking you to reveal every wound at once. They are searching for one clear sign that the door is not closed. One honest moment may quiet many fears. One sincere expression may give them courage to show you what they have been holding back. But there is something you must understand before that moment arrives. Do not betray your own boundaries merely to remove someone else's uncertainty. Divine connection does not require self-abandonment. You are not being asked to prove your worth, chase affection, or expose your deepest pain before trust has been established. You are being invited to examine whether fear has been speaking in places where love deserves a voice. There is a difference between discernment and avoidance. Discernment observes with wisdom. Avoidance assumes the worst before truth has a chance to appear. Discernment protects peace. Avoidance protects pain so carefully that healing cannot reach it. You have every right to move slowly, but do not confuse moving slowly with standing still forever. This person's uncertainty can only be resolved through truth, not through performance. You do not need to become more attractive, more agreeable, less emotional, or easier to understand. The thing that troubles them is not something you need to erase. It is something that needs to be illuminated. Your guarded heart is not a flaw. It is a story. And they are beginning to realize this. The person who heard their confession said something that changed how they viewed the entire situation. They told them, maybe this person is not hiding because they do not care. Maybe they are hiding because caring has hurt them before. Those words entered deeply. For the first time, your distance no longer looked like rejection. It looked like protection. Your silence no longer appeared empty. It appeared full of feelings you had not yet found safety to express. This person began remembering your behavior through a different lens, and suddenly moments that once confused them started making sense. They remembered how you became quieter when a conversation moved too close to your heart. They remembered the way you offered small signs of care, then pulled back as though you had revealed too much. They remembered a moment when your expression softened completely before you quickly looked away. Now they wonder whether they have been waiting for you to trust them while failing to show you enough consistency to make trust possible. This realization humbled them. They began asking themselves whether their own mixed signals contributed to your guardedness. Whether their delays, emotional inconsistency, or fear of vulnerability made you feel unsafe. They can no longer place the entire weight of uncertainty on you. They are seeing that both of you may have been speaking through protection instead of honesty. Something extraordinary happens when a person stops asking, "Why are they difficult to love?" and begins asking, "What happened that made love feel difficult to receive?" Compassion replaces frustration. And this is what has started happening inside them. Their love is becoming more mature. It is moving beyond attraction and fantasy. They are beginning to understand that loving you may require patience, clarity, and emotional courage. They cannot simply wait for you to reveal everything while keeping their own heart hidden. They must become the kind of presence that does not demand vulnerability but inspires it. Yet they still fear one thing. They fear that by the time they gather enough courage, you may have decided they do not care. This fear has intensified recently. They sense that something in you is changing. You may be growing tired of uncertainty. You may be reclaiming your energy. You may be learning to stop waiting for people who cannot speak clearly. Even if you have not said this aloud, they feel the shift. They know you are capable of walking away quietly. You do not always announce when you have reached your limit. Sometimes you detach inwardly before anyone notices. You give chances in silence. You observe. You wait. Then one day, something inside you becomes calm, and the door that remained open for so long begins to close. This person is afraid that the door may already be moving. That is why their next decision matters. There is a conversation they have been imagining. In this imagined moment, they finally ask you what they have wanted to know. They tell you that they care, though their voice may tremble or their words may not come perfectly. They admit that your guardedness has confused them, but they also admit that their own fear kept them from creating clarity. They do not know how you will respond. Part of them believes you will soften. Another part fears you will remain unreadable. They are trying to prepare themselves for either outcome, yet their heart is not neutral. They want this connection to become real in a way that no longer depends on guessing. But before they approach you, something else must happen. They are about to receive information that will reveal why your heart became so careful. They may hear it through someone who knows a piece of your story. They may witness something that helps them understand your emotional depth. Or you may accidentally reveal more than you intended during an unguarded moment. This discovery will not make them love you less. It will make them realize that the one thing causing their uncertainty was never a reason to step away. It was a reason to approach you differently. What they are about to understand will challenge the assumptions they have carried for weeks, perhaps months. They will see that behind your strength is a tenderness you have protected at great cost. They will realize that you were not waiting for grand promises. You were waiting for emotional safety. And then they will face a choice. They can continue watching you from a distance, hoping you somehow understand what they never say. Or they can step forward with a truth that could change everything between you. Their heart already knows which choice it wants to make. But there is one final detail they have not yet revealed to anyone. One reason their uncertainty became so intense. One moment involving you that they have replayed more than all the others. They believe that moment contained a message, but they still do not know whether it was an invitation or a goodbye. And now, they are preparing to ask you what it truly meant.